Welcome to the Urban Monk Podcast. Dr. Pedram Shojai, excited to be here. Excited to share a pretty cool story. Old friend, hadn't seen him in a while. Knew he was going through some stuff. Had no idea the extent. Got into it in this podcast. The wonders of natural medicine, the horrors of misdiagnosis, all sorts of tales to share with you here. Want to introduce you to the new reboot. Go to theurbanmonk.com/reboot. It's free. It's awesome. Check it out. And you're going to listen to this podcast, and my buddy Amish is going to talk about a new film that he made. Loves supporting the work of documentary filmmakers. Write this down now if you can. If not, write it at the end. theurbanmonk.com/natural law. So 2 L's in there. Without further ado, let's jump into this conversation with Amish. Well, it's certainly good to see you, my old friend. You look good.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you again. It's been forever, and so good to be connected again.
Yeah, I got to say, this isn't going to be a disclosure that you're going to be freaked out about. Like, you look a lot better than the last time I saw you.
I get that.
We'll talk about
I
why.
get that often.
Yeah. You look like you've dropped a dozen years easy since the last time I saw you, and it was one of those things where you see a lot of people once in a while, and it was one of those "what the hell happened to so and so" moments. But you've been very public with your story, and I'm glad you have, right? Because there's a lot of rags to riches, but there's a little less of the rags to rags back to riches stories in healthcare, right? And so, I would love to. You were obviously in the personal development space, right? Mm-hmm. But then you lost your way a little bit. So would love to just hear how things, where you come from, sort of thing,
Sure,
and then
we'll
talk about how things started to go south.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of start where I think like the health stuff started from, and then I'll kind of jump into some of the other entrepreneurial stuff and how the drive for success and stress and how that affects stuff. But growing up as a kid in America, I grew up in New Jersey. Parents of immigrants, trying to fit in, half Indian, half American kind of guy, trying to fit in. That's all, So for me, it was very awkward. I was just trying to fit in, and for me, it was like, all right, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do this, and this is the American way, and that's what I always kind of grew up with. I would remember as a kid getting eczema patches. I would get stomach aches all the time. I would get bloody noses often. And we'd go to the doctors, and they would say Pepto-Bismol or like something like that, and on your way. So, sorry, son, nothing's wrong with you, right? As I got older, that kind of kept going on, and in my late teens, early 20s, I got vitiligo under my eye. And I had a big dark spot over here, and I still have a little bit of it, but it's way gone compared to what it used to be. And I again went to the doctor, like, hey, what are these spots like coming up on my face and like on my body too? And they're like, well, nothing's really wrong, and we don't really know why this happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Try this lotion or this steroid, and we'll take it from there. And I was like, okay, here we go. And so I did that, and of course, nothing really helped. And so I again, didn't think anything about it. And in my young 20s, I grew up in New Jersey, New York. I worked in New York for a while, did the whole kind of Wall Street thing, corporate America thing for many years, and just realized that wasn't going to be my destiny. So in 2004, during the early kind of dot-com boom, I decided to kind of start tinkering online. Before I knew it, I had $1 million business on my hand, and I was probably around 24, 25, somewhere in that range, making over $1 million a year in my business. Profitability, of course, was a little less, but it was eons more than I was making at my job at Morgan Stanley. And so my profit, and I made 3-4 times my salary in profit in like 6 months. Now, took me 2 years to get there, tinkering around and stuff, but I hit it, and I didn't know really what to think or what to do about it. I was like, okay, just hold off, hopefully this thing will last. And before I knew it, that 1 had turned into 5 and had turned into 10. And that business was just exploding. It was a one little business that I had started turned into five. And I was like this tech entrepreneur, guru, marketer kind of guy in the mid to late 2000s, before all the social media kind of influencer hype and all that stuff. And what was interesting about that is it took me from New Jersey, New York, living in a modest town home, all the way to San Diego and La Jolla in a 6,000 square foot house with a pool on the roof, dude, and a theater room and a elevator, and I had three exotic cars in the driveway, and at some point, with from all the partying and drinking and just eating whatever I wanted to, kind of just doing literally whatever I wanted to my body, not even thinking, just it's okay, and, just drink as much as you can, smoke cigarettes, like do drugs every now and then, and your body will just you're young. This is your prime life, and you made all the money. You achieved all success.
You've already arrived.
And dude, before I knew it, man, I was in the shower of that house, in the La Jolla house, man, and it was raining, like a rain shower on me, and I was looking at the ocean from the shower and my three exotic cars, literally a Ferrari, Maserati, and Audi. And I said I wanted to kill myself, dude. And I don't remember having those thoughts like so vividly in my mind, and I remember being in pain, like my stomach would hurt so much, and I would get these migraines, and like that was what was causing a lot of my feeling this way. And I had all these businesses, so I had all this stress from these five companies I was running, and it was this multi millionaire kind of like attitude, and the company and everything. We had a software company, we had a marketing company, we had an affiliate network, we had all these things happening. And I thought I had everything, but I didn't have my health, man, and like at all, and I didn't have my happiness. I actually had gotten married that year too, and I was supposed to be the most joyous time of my life, and I was just in so much pain. I went to the doctor, and when I was 29, 30 years old, in that range, 2009, 10, now here we are, my cholesterol was 387. Now, I know cholesterol is like looked at like, yeah, that's not a huge barometer, but 387 is actually like off the charts. It's not even like a normal.
No, that's a get anyone's attention number.
Yeah, and I was 29. I was 30 years old, and like I had fatty liver and near adrenal failure and like all this stuff, and I would get migraines like every day, and sinus infections and bloody stool, and the eczema was coming back, and I was like, what the heck is going on, So I decided to just push the reset button. I was like, man, and I went to a Wayne Dyer event actually, and he inspired me to get rid of everything, push the reset button, and start over, and do what I love, and not be caught up in the hype and the world around me. And that was a big shift, identity crisis for sure. But I did it. I sold everything off over the next 2 years, and I tried to find happiness. I was still going to the Western medical system, getting MRIs and CAT scans, and I probably saw around 15 specialists or so, every awesome, amazing doctor here in Southern California, and none of them could tell me what was wrong with me. And I would be in pain, and they're like, "Oh, we'll take this prescription," and oh, I even had surgery. I had a deviated septum surgery because my nose was always clogged all the time, and I went through a lot, man. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was in pain, and they're like, "Nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's showing anything." I'm like, I'm in pain every day. Like my back hurts, my neck hurts, my head hurts. Like I can't think. Brain fog, like crazy brain fog. It was so bad, and some of this from acupuncture also is that I was so inflamed that the acupuncturist that was putting needles in me, they wouldn't stain my skin; they would pop out because I was so inflamed that they wouldn't stay inside of me. The needles literally wouldn't; they would pop out. He's like, "I've never seen this before." He literally told me, "He's like, I've never seen this before." He's like, "You are extremely inflamed." So, I went green juicing, I went meditating, I went rebounding, infrared sauna. I did what all the wellness experts were telling me to do at the time because I was like, okay, something's got to give here. I got to figure out how to get better. And granted, I lost some weight and I started looking better, but the pain was not going away. I would still get my migraines. I would still get my sinus infections, brain fog, back aches, stomach aches like you wouldn't believe. Like knives were being stuck through me.
Quick interruption here. Just want to remind you, note from our sponsor, which is me, the Urban Monk Academy. Want you to check out what's new in the Academy. Go to theurbanmonk.com. Check out the store. Lots of new things in there. I am really doubling down on helping provide solutions to all the problems that people face. My series have come in there, have brought in some certain technologies and products. If you haven't been in the store in a while, go give it a look, give it a gander, and enjoy the rest of this podcast.
And I decided to kind of look into my lineage a little bit, and I discovered and kind of re-stumbled upon Ayurveda. Now, again, I kind of grew up with it, not knowing what it really was. My parents would give me concoctions for stomach aches and sprained ankles. They'd wrap turmeric around it. But I didn't really know about it, neither did they. And I was like, I think this is going to save me, because a lot of the core tenet was around the gut, and I would always feel a lot of what was going on in my gut, and weird bowel movements, diarrhea one day, constipation 2 days, no poop for a day and a half, then all of a sudden diarrhea, and it was just like, I didn't know what was going on. So, you know, it was crazy. And when I started discovering Ayurveda, I decided, hey, I'm going to go for this detox retreat that Ayurveda calls Panchakarma. On this detox retreat, I'm going to start recording a film. I had sold all the businesses off, I had a little bit of cash, and I wanted to document ancient wisdom. And this was from my heritage and my lineage, so I was like, you know what, why not? And I had already shot another documentary before that, and that was going to become my new career as a documentary filmmaker kind of career. So I went to my first retreat, and I felt great when I came back. But within 2 or 3 months, I started going back down. And so then I started incorporating herbs. I started incorporating teas and started kind of following a little bit of Ayurvedic diet, and it helped. Don't get me wrong. And I would go to these Panchakarma detoxes once a year just to keep my body from, it was just too much pain. I had to go. And at some point in around 2016, 2017, I just called it quits. I said, I'm just in too much pain. I actually don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like shit every day. Sorry, pardon my language, but I can't function anymore. I can't run my company. I have to shut everything down. And I just kind of disappeared. I kind of disappeared from the scene, disappeared from hanging out with friends and family, and you know, I had 2 young children, couldn't help out around the family. I was in bed by like 7 o'clock. Like, it was just tough, man. It was a tough situation to be in. And I just progressively started getting worse. The left side of my body started shutting down. My left eye stopped moving all the way to the left. And I had all this like hardness in my neck and this left side of my body. I couldn't move my body all the way to the left, and I wish I could tell you what was going on, you know, at that time. Somewhere around 2017 or 18, 17, I decided to take a random trip to India and sorry, I should back up. While this was happening and I wasn't feeling well, I was shooting various experts for the movie. So Deepak Chopra, Sri Ravi Shankar, Mimi Guarnari, like Dr. Vasant Lodge, amazing experts around the world, scientists and experts and doctors around Ayurveda, hoping that one of them would have the answer for me. I'm like, please, if you knew someone who was getting migraines and doing this, and so then I would follow a little bit of their protocols. And it would help me feel a little better for a little while. I'd do the detox retreat, and then I'd come back, and it was like this up and down, and my labs were just kind of going up and down all over the place, and just wasn't the best. So again, I went to India in 2017 after kind of saying, you know, this is my last straw. I don't think I could do anything for this documentary anymore. And it was kind of like my last straw. So I went to India in the hopes, and China in the hopes of something else was going to heal me. So I went all over to these monasteries and temples and you know, churches and Buddhist grounds and Hindu temples, and just was praying for some help. And then I just thought that this was going to be the end of my life soon, in the next like 5 years at some point. And I told my wife, like, I have to, like, this is horrible for me, and she knew it, and just praying. And on that trip, I took a test at a startup. It was a startup convention, part of Entrepreneurs Organization. So I went to it, and there's a startup in India that was measuring genetic diseases. So it can measure by a swab what diseases you have, but not just diseases, epigenetic expression of the disease. So how much it's actually expressed. So I was like, whatever, $100. They swabbed me. It's a startup. I was like, great. Hopefully I get my results. 2018, I get the results, and they're going through my report, and they're like, oh, the things that run in your family, heart disease. I'm like, yep, runs in my family. In fact, I had it for a little while. And they're like 1.3x. Diabetes, 1.3x. And I also was pre-diabetic at some point during this process. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how am I pre-diabetic? And then thyroid, same thing, because it runs in my family. And then it said celiac disease. And it said 5.6x. And when I saw that 5.6x, I was like, no way. Like, this, what the heck? Like, are you serious? And so it turns out I have celiac disease. And I stopped eating gluten, of course. And the mistake I had made with Ayurveda was that I did not see a practitioner on a continuing basis. I just kind of was like, oh, I met someone, got some wisdom, and I've incorporated it in. And the Western system, I had doctors tell me to my face that there's no way I was allergic to gluten or I had a problem with gluten. My rheumatologist, allergist, they told me to my face, there's no way I was allergic to gluten. And so, for me, I just, not that I ate it a lot, I cut a lot of it out just to be healthy in general, but it comes in everything. I mean, it literally comes in everything. And celiac is a severe response to gluten. And for 38 years of my life, I ate gluten, basically. And so I made a dedication to Ayurveda because they're really good at fixing gut issues. I had 8 to 12 ulcers at the time. Some of them were so big, you could see them. They'd pop out of my stomach. I spent, within the first 60 days of really working with an Ayurvedic practitioner, I started feeling amazing. 90 days, even better. First year, I was like on cloud 9. And to reverse a lot of the physical body damage that it had done to me with my neck and my eye, I did a ton of yoga, breath work, exercise, and that took me a while. That took me a little longer to reverse the physical. But there I was, in 2021 in meditation, and I remember feeling spectacular. I was happy. I was healthy. I was thinking about my family and like hanging out with them and smiling and cracking jokes again, and like it felt back to normal. Like I was like, wow, I feel like I would have never thought I could feel this happy or this kind of joy or this kind of freedom in my life. I couldn't remember the last time I felt like that. So I called my editor and I was like, remember all those 40 interviews that we did on Ayurveda? Like, it's like this was the hit that I needed to, like, Ayurveda saved my life. It gave me another chance at life. I had to cut certain things out. Of course, I can't eat gluten. And I reincorporated certain things that I can eat now again. Not gluten, of course, but other things. Like I had to cut out along the way dairy, alcohol, coffee, caffeine, things like that. But that's the beauty of Ayurveda, is that it helps you heal, and then we find out what the root cause is, and then you can slowly start reintroducing things in balance, and your body has a certain balance. And so the last 2-3 years now, we've put together and finalized the film, and we're launching it. And I've seen so many outside of my just testimonials. When we went to these retreat centers, we would bring the film crew with us, and I mean the stories we have on film. I mean, like you can't explain these things that Western medical system just can't explain. Like stage 4 cancer, like gone, reversed with Ayurveda. thyroid conditions, MS, children and autism. Like, I'm floored. The more I learn about it, I'm like, I don't understand. And so it was wild. You know, Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old medicinal system. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years, tested across the whole Indian subcontinent with billions of people in the subcontinent. That's the data that they had, is each other. You know, they're like, this stuff works for this. So it's cool that modern science is finally starting to catch up. You know, some of the things like turmeric, ashwagandha, shilajit, you know, holy basil, all these come from Ayurveda. Massaging, that comes from Ayurveda. You know, marma points, living your purpose, dharma, that all comes from Ayurveda. A lot of this comes, the wisdom comes from Ayurveda. And so it's beautiful. And we called the movie The Natural Law because Ayurveda is living in balance according to nature. And when we live outside of these kind of natural laws, that's when we get, you know, ill health, we get disease, we get thrown off balance, or we get sick. And it's put together in such an easy, beautiful way to understand, that it's time for a resurgence of this. It's time we actually look at this ancient medicine that cataloged 10,000 plants medicinal, in all different kinds of medicinal plants, and 30,000 different recipes, from everything from a stuffy nose all the way through cancers. You know, so it's a very powerful ancient medicine.
There's a lot to unpack here. Few threads. Start with the one where you were talked down to and misdiagnosed by multiple doctors in this culture, right? That is a very common thread, right? I'm telling you, it's not this. Piss off. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, I'm so smart that I don't know. And they just missed your diagnosis. Like, celiac is a diagnosable illness. Obviously, taking gluten out of your diet change your stars. Right now, there is the noxious agent that you have obviously immunological issues with, and then there's the gut healing, right, which is a long road to recovery. And I don't know of a system better than Ayurveda
Mm.
for that. Right, I've done PK a few times. I spent a fair amount of time in India myself. It's a lot of gut work, right?
Yep.
It's a lot of reinoculation. It's a lot of things to heal the gut. And you know, I've done a lot of work on this. You know, obviously, in my history, is the gut is the basis of the body's health,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And so, good on you for going back to your tradition to really kind of dig backwards. Curious, did any of these Ayurvedic, like, what's the system within Ayurveda? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
yes, you did it in India,
Mm-hmm.
but you did it with genomics and probably, you know, transcriptomics or something, trying to figure out what your predisposition was for epigenetic expression. And, you know, hallelujah, it came up with the thing that a lot of people missed. Is there any language for
Yes.
celiac in Ayurveda? Like, were these clues coming up?
Yes. So that's a good question. And so, according to Ayurveda, okay. So the basis of Ayurveda is that everything in the universe is made up of the five elements. And those five elements are space or ether, everything kind of this empty space that we talk about, which is not really empty, but that's a whole different conversation. Air, right? Wind, air, all that stuff. We're breathing air. Then there's fire. So there's the sun. We have fire to cook our food. There's fire on earth. There's water and earth. So space, air, fire, water, and earth. Everything in the whole entire universe is made up of these five elements. Now, when these five elements combine, they create forces. So ether, or space, and air combine to make vata. Fire and water combine to make pitta, and water and earth combine to make kapha. And those three forces, or doshas as they call them in Ayurveda, basically make up everything in this universe. We're all made up of all three, but in different quantities. So when we're born, where both of our parents were at the time of conception, your mom might have been more water, or your dad might have been more fire, or whatever it was, that becomes your constitution. That's what you're born with. Now, when we live our lives and we're hit with these stresses from the outside, boom, you get, social media, you get computer, you get food, you get environmental, you get all these toxins and traumas, relationships, whatever it is. These traumas come from the outside, and it sets that balance of vata, pitta, kapha off a little bit. And one may get elevated. And when that one gets elevated, it starts off as a small symptom. I'm having a headache again, or I got a stuffy nose, or it starts off something small, or this, I got a little eczema patch, something that you don't really recognize. You're just like, oh, whatever, you move on. And they say slowly over time, there's 6 stages to that. And eventually in the sixth stage or fifth stage, it becomes nameable. I have psoriasis, or I have XYZ disease. Um, so Ayurveda, when they were looking at my body, they said I was very high in pitta. I was too much heat inside of my body, way too much fire going on in my body, and that was showing up because of my celiac, and drinking and whatever else I was doing. And now that I was born already a little high pitta, it was setting it off to go really high, creating ulcers, creating all kinds of stomach and anger and temperament and these kind of pitta qualities. Now, each of these vata, pitta, kapha have different qualities associated with them, and even diseases associated with them. So, in Ayurveda, what I was doing to maintain what was going on and at least just try and live a normal life was not eat anything that was pitta causing, that was pitta producing. So I'd stay away from spicy foods, fire, right? You want to stay away from fiery foods, spicy foods. You want to stay away from sugary foods because that converts to fire and more of that in your body. So I started replacing them with bitter foods and herbs, and I started drinking some teas, and that was keeping me kind of just doing this. But then I'd get that bout, go to my daughter's friend's birthday, have a little piece of cake, boom, back on my butt again. So that was my journey. That's not everyone's journey, and so it's not only used for disease; it's used for simple things like an earache. Even it's used for daily life and daily principles. And the key to it is to kind of use it so that you don't get sick and you live within these daily and seasonal kinds of rituals where you prevent illnesses from coming to you.
Yeah, it's interesting when the body is having a fire-like reaction. Um, One thing is to not add to the fire, obviously, but then it's like, why does this keep happening? You got to find the noxious agent. For you, it happened to be gluten. For someone, it could be, not properly sealed paint cans in their kitchen. There's so many
Yeah.
things that can be in your environment, that you get exposed to, whether it's through the air, through touch, through food, that can set you off, obviously. And what a shame. I mean, you lost some of the best years. I don't know how to say this without making it sound horrible. You lost some of the best years of your children's lives.
I mean, I still go back and I am like there's certain things I can't get back, and there's only
No,
there's only so much I can do now, and for me,
no.
I show up 100 times more. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. Like I just have to show up for them 100 times more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank God you came back. I mean, you could have been a dead guy, right? And
yeah,
that's also part of it,
yeah.
is you thought you weren't going to make it.
No, I told my wife I wasn't gonna make it. Actually, I said, through all the meditation and through all the Ayurveda and through everything I'm doing, the one message I get is no one can figure out what's wrong with me, and
Mm.
I'm just gonna die. Like this is my
Hmm.
destiny.
Hmm.
And she just we just started crying that day. I mean, what can we do? Because we didn't
Hmm.
know. And I would tell her, I'm like, I don't know why I act like this. I don't know
Yeah.
why I feel like this. Like, I'm sorry, I can't help change diapers. Like, I can't. I physically cannot. You know?
Well, it's not from a lack of trying. I mean, if you were a guy that was holding a bottle of gin saying that, it'd be a different story. Like, you tried to change your ways, right? You were going to all the doctors, you're doing the thing. And I think a lot of our listeners have had, maybe not as aggressive of a story, very similar experience where, they felt very kind of talked down to or mansplained, their health condition. And, even with your vitiligo as a kid, it's like, I can tell you from my medical training that I know definitively what this is. I don't know how to fix it, but I'm so smart. I'm telling you what I named this. Right? You're like, dude, I didn't come here to hear how smart you
This
are.
is
Like, can you make
yeah.
the spot go away or not?
No, it's so true, and I've gotten everything. Like I said, I even had surgery, man, and it didn't even help. So you know, it's kind of weird because it's like I've heard people say this. It's like you can't really blame the doctors. Even it's like the system that's actually broken. The doctors are educated one way, and they don't actually know. They actually don't know any better. They literally go into a computer, they go by textbook, and they're like, oh, well, this is this, and you should probably take this drug or get this surgery or go see this other doctor because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's why they should be afraid of AI coming for their jobs, because they're just following algorithms and they're not listening. The problem too is there is an accepted canon, an accepted body of work. X means Y on your rheumatology panel. Therefore, you don't have celiac. Now, piss off. You're wasting my time. Whereas that body of work has been expanded upon, but just not updated in that guy's universe yet.
mm,
And had someone early on been like, well, let's just run, one of these Cyrex arrays. There's so many ways
yeah,
to
I was
look
just like
for some of these
my
things.
joints hurt, my back hurts, my body hurts, like something is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could tell you, and I've obviously I didn't have it as bad as you, because everyone would have heard about it. But I, for years, was like, gluten bugs me maybe a little. No GI symptoms, no real like, oh my god, running to the toilet or anything. But I was feeling older, and my injuries, my old nagging injuries,
Mm,
were like starting to really kind of creep up on me.
interesting.
And then I'd be like, dude, why the hell are my knuckles sore? Right? Like, yeah, I used to punch a lot in the martial arts and stuff, but like, why did I wake up with sore knuckles? Right. And it took me a while, because I'm an idiot, right, to really understand the latency period of
Yes,
gluten.
yes, that's
It
very
could have been
true.
from the thing you ate 3 days ago.
Yep,
Right. And
yep.
that's hard to put two and two together
It was so
when
hard.
life has so many variables.
Even with some of the journals, food journals I would keep, it's like I don't even know. It's like what is it? And I tried cutting out alcohol, and guess what? Boom, still get knocked down. I'm like, dude, what the hell's going on? And then so you try and try and try, and then yeah, some of it is also my fault for not working with an Ayurvedic practitioner. I thought I was smart, and I thought I was like, oh, like I'm a pitta, so that means I'll just continue whatever they told me after my panchakarma, and that should be good enough, right? Um, so,
Well, in all candor, and this is, with all due respect, because I come from, a doctorate in Oriental medicine, is the systems, whether it's Ayurveda, Oriental medicine, or allopathy, in and of themselves, I believe, are not complete. And I think we live in an era
mhm.
where it's like, the genomic testing and the celiac diagnosis would have really helped
Yeah, it was
a
amazing.
decade
It was
earlier,
amazing. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so these paradigms need to stop kind of doing their own thing and coming together into a new understanding of medicine that's respectful of all the ancient wisdom and
Exactly.
everything the Ayurvedic doctors knew, all of it. But again, you went to the motherland, and did some genetic testing, which comes from the allopathic systems.
Exactly.
It just
And
it's an interesting time.
our film gets into that too. It's like we're not trying to say Western's better, Eastern's better, bashing the Western system and bashing back. Look, we're just here. I think integrative medicine is really the key. And if you get hit by a car, you have a stroke, you have a heart attack, you break your arm, go to the hospital. It's not the time to find out if you're about to
Mhm.
pitta kapha or if you need an Ayurvedic practitioner. That's not the time. Go to the hospital.
Totally.
It Western medicine is great at acute issues. They're amazing at trauma, right? And so what we want to focus on for Ayurveda is lifestyle diseases, stress caused diseases, food caused diseases, environmental cause diseases. Everything else that we're like, we don't know what it is, autoimmune, we kind of label it under this big bucket of autoimmune. And it's like, oh, we don't know what that is. It's just life diseases. Yeah. So that's where Ayurveda can really help and really reverse things there. And so how do we marry these two is the key. How do we bring all these different sciences together and figure out a holistic approach, an integrative approach?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And couldn't have said it better myself. Is look, you are advancing a body of work that has 5,000 years and billions of people and un- unbelievable amounts of anecdotal and human to human evidence behind it
Mm-hmm.
that is very easy to dismiss by the fraternity boy club, right? And that's just those days are over, right?
Yeah.
Those guys need to chill the hell out, and we need to look at everything objectively, because allopathy has been abysmal with chronic disease. So let's call a spade, and
You're right.
let's look at the chronic disease epidemic and look at systems like Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and all the natural
Agreed.
systems that are much better suited to deal with this chronic disease epidemic. And it's very easy for chronic disease to stick around because it's a profitable model for the drugs, but it ain't great for a guy who missed a decade with his kids, is it?
No. I mean, the answer is no. And so honestly, that was the big thing for me. And it was like for all the people that I witnessed healing on my journey of filming this over the course of 10 years was like for all of them and for all the future people and everyone else that's in pain. Because I I regularized it. I made it normal. I normalized all my pain. I normalized everything that was happening to me. I figured it was a part of getting old, and maybe I'm just the guy that's gonna die young and all that stuff. And we don't have to put up with it. We don't, and we are our own doctors. We are the best doctors is ourselves. And in fact, Ayurveda has two really amazing kind of sayings that I'd like to say. One of them is that the best doctor has no patience. That's the first thing in that's said in Ayurveda. Why? Because the doctor has educated and informed the community on how to heal, how to live life, how to manage disease, how to manage these things. So there's no patience. The second thing is that there's no such thing as bright doctors, only brilliant patients.
Mm.
And so it's up to us to take the cue, to take our healing into our own hands and really find those solutions. And I really feel Ayurveda has a lot of those solutions where you can take it into your own hands and you can do it yourself.
Yeah. Love this. Love this. I got to say, you hit it well. Last time I saw you, I didn't realize that you were that sick, right? I mean,
I
obviously you're in
didn't,
a busy social context and all that.
yeah,
And that's where I think a lot of people feel lonely and abandoned and shamed and all these things, right? Is like, I can't let all these health people know that I'm sick. I've
yeah,
failed, right? Like it's hard
it's
to
so
ask for
true.
help.
So true. I didn't share it with people. I didn't. I kept it to
Mm-mm.
myself. I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't have a diagnosis, and I didn't know. I thought, for the longest time, I blamed it on so many different things. I thought it was mental, psychological problems for a while. I thought it was demons and spiritual stuff for a little while. I thought it was, I went to every avenue to figure out what the heck was wrong with me, and that's you don't tell people about that usually. I think my wife kind of knew most of it, and she was probably the only one. But outside of that, not many people. Maybe my parents a little bit, my sister here and there. Close family. But
First of all, you're blessed to have a great wife, right?
she's amazing.
A lot of people are in a position where people give up on them, right? They say, screw this guy. So,
She could have
um,
very
you're,
well done that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're blessed to have a devoted partner, right? That's a wonderful thing. That's grace, right? And now look at you. You went from a guy who's covering it up really well to a guy who's, emperor's got no clothes, and you made a film about it.
I mean, yeah.
um, Yeah, here you are. So I'm actually planning on watching tonight with my family. I missed the premiere. We were out of town.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching it tonight with my family. We are going to be offering a free screening of the film.
Yeah.
Um, theurbanmonk.com/natural law. Go there. There's an invite to see the film. I invite you to watch it and then tell me what you thought and tell me what it provoked and brought up for you. Look, I have a lot of respect for people who go through healing crises and journeys. And I, selfishly have a lot of respect for documentary filmmakers because I know how much work it is. It's a labor of love.
They are.
And you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into making it. I haven't even seen it, and I'm proud of it. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of work to document a journey like this, especially a personal one with some, pain points on it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you inspired me to include my personal journey in it. Before it was actually just going to be a bunch of doctors, and you're like, dude, you got to put your story in it. And I was like, I don't want to put me in there. Like, yeah. So thanks for that. I appreciate that. And, yeah.
You're very welcome. No, it makes it real. It makes it human, and it makes it relatable. It's, these talking heads don't relate the way human suffering does,
Yeah.
right? Like, I got choked up when I was just thinking about how many years of your kids' lives you missed, right? Like, it's just that hits hard. So, look, I'm going to watch it with my kids and my wife tonight.
Awesome.
Honored that you took the time to do it. Thank you for your time here.
Thank you.
And again, theurbanmonk.com/natural law. And let me know. Just go ahead and I'll put a way for you to comment back. Let me know what your feedback is. And happy to support your work, Amish. Thank you.
Thank you.